Okay, yes. For context, if you're new, we're talking about an original stand idea. The stand is called Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and it has two sides. One side is called Beautiful Dark, and that ability is the ability to like essentially cancel out any one of your five senses. And then the other side has another ability called Twisted Fantasy, and Twisted Fantasy can move one of your senses from one location to the next. So, for example, if I touched you and then I touched the underside of a table, I could switch your ear or your sense of hearing to the bottom of that table, so you could hear any conversations that were happening in proximity to that table, okay? This is an example. That said, for the Requiem would be really interesting because it could go one of two ways. Well, one, I thought name-wise would already be a really cool way to switch it up for the Requiem. Instead of Beautiful Dark and Twisted Fantasy, its new Requiem abilities could be the opposite combination. So instead of Beautiful Dark and Twisted Fantasy, it will be Beautiful Fantasy and Dark and Twisted, which I think sounds so sick. Okay, so then for Dark It, so some people had a couple ideas. Somebody said that it would be cool if like you could increase someone's abilities. So like you could give somebody super sight or super hearing or super taste or something along those lines. And I think that would be cool for for Beautiful Fantasy in a way, but I'm not sure how I feel about that one yet. For Dark and Twisted, I think the easiest way for that one to kind of like reasonably increase from its original ability would just be to, normally it can only do one sense at a time, but with the Requiem, it can do up to all five. So it can just make you just a complete just vegetable, essentially, after being touched by it. Which would be crazy to see, I think. That'd be or crazy to experience. And then for Beautiful Fantasy, there have been other people who have had ideas that kind of perception manipulation, and I think this kind of makes me think there's a circumstance, I forgot what it's called, but it's in Baki, where there's a moment where like fighters get into like this space when they're losing so badly that they start basically hallucinating the best case scenario for them, and that's what they start seeing. Like they imagine themselves like winning the fight. Like they're literally like, you don't even have to be engaging with them anymore. They're just sitting there like throwing punches at nothing because they're literally, their mind is showing them the version of the fight if they were winning. And it's crazy. Like they get locked in and they're stuck. So like I feel like Beautiful Fantasy could kind of be something similar where it shows the person who's the target, it shows the enemy stand user like whatever they wanted to see, and essentially that would be like their success in the moment, even though they weren't succeeding, which would be really interesting. Like if you're familiar with Baki, like hopefully this idea tracks. Like if you've seen Baki, like let me know if that makes sense. But I think like that's where I'm starting so far, but I need more feedback on this. So, like if you have better Requiem ideas for this stand, dude, please let me know. This is turning out so sick, you guys. This is so cool.